We had somebody in the live chat asking for a prediction on the 2021 season, which I'll throw around all sorts of predictions, but the last one that goes on the record is like late in August. I'm not making predictions for the season in April, but we can have fun with that kind of conversation, no doubt. But in terms of my final predictions, mine personally won't be out there until August. And then Navy Thomas jumped on it before we get to it, just to basically say 2021 is going to be another cluster. Wow. Come on, Navy Thomas.
Come
Let's
on.
be a little
Come
bit
on,
more
Navy
optimistic
Thomas.
about it.
Killing me, Navy Thomas.
Hey, that doesn't surprise me at all. He tells it like it is.
I am looking at it, guys, and it looks like about 6-6 to me, to be realistic. I will say this, that if you take most of the major magazines, I'm going to throw this one in here for a little optimism. If you go through the major magazines, Street and Smith's, Athlon's, Lindy's, blah, 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 you know what I've noticed? They're very conservative in their predictions, meaning you can pretty much take last year's standings. And now this season's going to be not a good example because teams were playing 4 games last year. But in a typical year, and I did this for about 3 years, I took the major magazines, I matched up their predictions versus the previous season, and they would on average only predict a team to increase or decrease their win total by 3 games at least, about 3 or 4 teams in the country. Meaning they would keep everyone right about what they did the year before. If a team was 8-4, they'd keep them 8-4, 7-5. They'd keep everybody, and they really wouldn't go out there to try to make a projection on somebody either taking a big leap or a big drop. So I took that, and then I actually went through the standings for 3 seasons, and I based my criteria on a win differential of 3. Meaning thinking that's substantial. If a team wins or either 3 more or 3 less games than they did before, so a 6-6 team becomes a 9-3 team. That seems significant. So I made that the standard, at least a 3-game difference from the year before. Those major magazines were typically predicting only about 3 to 4 teams in the Power 5 to make that kind of leap or decline. And do you know how many teams actually were in those last 3 seasons? 19 one year, 22 another year, but between like 18 and 22 teams out of the 65 in the Power 5. I didn't think that either. Wow. It seems like they stay pretty much the same, but if you look at it, there were 6 out of the 14 teams in the Big Ten in 2019 who had made either a 3-game jump or a 3-game decline from the season before. Wow. So it happens.
It just doesn't happen to Ohio State.
Yeah, and that's what people focus on. They think, oh, yeah, it's boring. It's the same every year because the same 3 teams. Oh, I got another run of stats that I – listen to this, you guys. Okay.
Hold on. Let me add something.
Go off on that.
We were talking.
Absolutely.
Well, no, this goes back one, though. Since back 2 together. Since we were talking a little bit of the U, a little bit of Miami football, and we talked about these 2 of the top-rated kids out of Omaha, which we're talking about Deshaun Woods, the offensive lineman, and we're talking about the outside linebacker, Devin Jackson, Omaha Central, Omaha Burke. Best of friends, both have offers from the U, and both in their top 5, and they love it. They love the U. So just throwing that out there. I'm predicting it right now. They both land at Miami.
Well, we've got a lot of Miami fans that watch us that will be happy to hear that. So what are you thinking here, Chris? Out of conference game at Oklahoma. Buffalo's a home game, which is not going to be easy. They've been a good team in the MAC. And then the other should be a gimme against Southeastern Louisiana later in the season in November. And then the non-division games are Ohio State, Michigan, and Michigan State on the road. So it's not an easy draw.
Wolf. Now, Yeah, I'm going to be kind of right where you were right now. I mean, right now around 6-6. I like to wait until I see some more in spring and see who's healthy and not and whatnot. But I mean, I'm kind of at the same exact spot I was last year. I think they need to win 6 games. I think they should win 6 games. I think they definitely could win 7, and I think their ceiling right now is probably 8 wins. A lot of people, Husker fans, don't like to hear that. They think that Nebraska should win 8 games this year. Absolutely. And it's just like, man, like, you know, I think that if they can get 6 and they can go to a bowl game and they can start progressing, I think that's what we need to see. I do think that the defense alone should be able to help this team win at least 5 games. The defense alone. Those guys that they're returning with Cam Taylor, JoJo Doman, Deontay Williams, and that secondary coming back. Just find a pass rush again, and I think that they're going to be all right. And then, you know, can Adrian Martinez figure it out, and can they throw the ball more than 25 yards down the field? If so, I think they have a great shot of winning at least 6-7 games this year. So that's kind of where I'm at right now as far as the outlook on this season.
Hey, I'm right there with you, and I think that logic dictates that. And I think the one guy that said it was Nebraska Athletic Director Bill Moose, who said it last year that he would take 6-6, and the fan base blew up, and Coach Frost didn't like that, and he said it again. That he would take 6-6, and I guarantee you, Coach Frost would never say that. But 6-6 looks like it would be a dream come true right now, just to show that you're going in the right direction and finally starting to put things together. And if you can win 6 games, maybe that turns into a 7 or 8. You can make a bowl game. So we'll see. We'll see.
Right, and that's just what it is, though. It's just like you just said. It's 6-6 is showing that you're going in the right direction. It's not as a Nebraska fan or as somebody from Nebraska football that you need to. That's your standard, that you're accepting 6-6 as your program. I mean, it's just where we are at right now and what's happened these past few years. Just show that progression. And yeah, obviously the Nebraska standard is to win 9-10 games and go to the conference championship every year, but you got to start somewhere. So that's where I'm at too.
Exactly. And if you look at it, I think that the reasonable Nebraska fan would be either pleased with, in addition to that being the record, let's say 6-6, 7-5, something in that range, that either they take care of business in the division, meaning everyone under Wisconsin and let's say Iowa. Let's say they beat Northwestern, Purdue, Minnesota, Illinois. Let's say they take care of all 4 of them, which is no great feat in and of itself, those individual opponents. But if you take care of all 4 of them and don't let up and don't have a trip up against any of those 4, or let's say you do trip up against one of them, but let's say you have one breakthrough win against either Iowa or Wisconsin, something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what you've been needing.
Yeah, go ahead, Greg. Go ahead,
Chris. I was just going to say, I mean, that's what you've been needing. I mean, Iowa is, you keep thinking every year, got to beat Iowa, and it hasn't happened. Wisconsin's always right there. Northwestern, Minnesota has been, it's just, it's tough. It's tough. And, you need that breakthrough game. With one of those big boys, the problem is that you're losing these games that usually you're going to win. You throw them away. The Illinois game last year, pathetic. Games like that you're favored in, you need to take care of business. So that's the biggest thing, and then knock off one of those other guys and keep yourself in that race. Right up until the end to maybe play for a Big Ten title.
Yeah, that's what I was going to go off and say too. Is if you can win one of those big games, those feel good games. I mean, when's the last time we had one of those? I mean, maybe that Michigan State game in the snow, But I think what Mark you're alluding to also, if you can win those, those 4, your Illinois, Purdue, Minnesota, Northwestern. I mean, those are all really great wins. I mean, those are tough wins. But if you do happen to slip up against one of those, can you beat one of those other teams that, those tough ones, the Wisconsin or the Iowa, or maybe you somehow pull one out against one of those big East teams. It's just what's happened is you beat, a couple of those teams, the Purdue, and then you maybe beat Northwestern, and then you get killed by Illinois or something like that, and then you lose to Iowa and Wisconsin, and then it's just, that can't happen. But if you get those six wins and you can move from there, I think that's promising and something you can build off of.